Hi everyone, welcome back to Tea Time in the Tranquil Tuesdays virtual tea room. I'm Charlene, founder of Tranquil Tuesdays and a featured Asia store artisan. I started Tranquil Tuesdays 10 years ago in Beijing to showcase China's finest teas and to help people discover one of China's most celebrated ancient traditions. For years, Asia store at Asia Society has been a wonderful home to showcase my tea, and today I'm excited to partner with Asia store on a new video. We created this video series together to bring you a moment of tranquility through tea, and in the series you'll discover the art of tea from appreciating Asian tea culture to brewing the perfect cup. Today I'll be talking to you about White Peony white tea. These are the leaves for White Peony white tea, and you'll see that they look actually quite different than the Maojian green tea from last week. These leaves are a lot bigger and fuller, and if you noticed here, this is what an ideal White Peony white tea leaf looks like. It's one bud and two leaves. And you can see on the bud there's still the small white downy hairs. If you were just drinking just the buds, that is silver needle white tea. And if you were having a white tea with the buds and the leaves, that's White Peony white tea. Okay, so first I'm going to heat up all the pieces. What you need to make a perfect cup of tea is a teapot that's a little bit bigger. I'm using a Celadon porcelain teapot here that's about 300 milliliters of water volume, and I like also using a decanter for my teas, but you can use anything for your decanter. So heating up all the implements, like I mentioned before, is sort of like heating your pot before you start putting oil and cooking in the kitchen or serving your food on a heated plate in a fancy restaurant. You want just everything primed and ready. I am going to add all this tea here, which is about 2 tablespoons of tea. 2 tablespoons of tea for 300 milliliter volume of water. Now you might think that's a lot more than what we did for the green tea last week, but it's really because these leaves are just so much fuller and take up so much more space. So it's not necessarily that many more leaves, it's more that the volume of the leaves just take up more space. Okay, well that's the best I could do. So I'm gonna do a rinse, which I said before is sort of like warming up, stretching your tea before running. You wanna open up and just prime your leaves to open up and release their flavors. A rinse is like you saw, just real quick, in and out. It's really just, like I said, warming up your leaves. So now, I know last week when we did green tea, I really emphasized how important water temperature was and steeping time. And those are factors also in white tea, but like I said, white tea is a much more low maintenance and easygoing tea. So it's not as stringent in terms of the parameters of where you might start going and ruining the tea. It's ideal to have it at lower temperature water, which is about 75 degrees Celsius, 180 degrees Fahrenheit. That's around the similar range for green tea. But, you know, I've had white tea with hotter water, I've had it with colder water. They all turn out pretty okay. It's hard to ruin white tea, but I do think the ideal temperature range is what I had mentioned, 75 to 180. You get a softer, nicer, gentler brew. So my water, I had it already at the right temperature. So I'm going to pour directly into the pot. And like I said, the goal here is really to give your leaves enough space to really open up and have the water and release all their flavor into the water. Steeping time, again, it's not as strict as green tea. There's not this great window where it's really astringent easily, but I also like keeping it shorter. The nice thing about drinking tea in a more concentrated way, like this 300 milliliters to 2 tablespoons, is you can have multiple steepings. So I like doing it shorter, but multiple times, personally. But there's, you can easily do it longer and just have it once, or however you like it. So I want to point out here that I'm using this little basket strainer here as a strainer. I'm not using it to brew the tea. I know it's very common to use this as like an actual basket to brew the tea, or one of those like small tea balls that are about like this big. I don't think that's enough space to give your tea, especially white peony white tea, enough space to open up and release their flavors. I'm going to just show you again here. If you see how much space they need to really open up, there's no way you could put that much tea in here and give it the amount of space that it needs. If you put it in here, they would just be squished and uncomfortable. You don't want your tea to feel squished and uncomfortable. You want them to feel free with a lot of space to roam. You want some free range brewing tea. Okay, so this is the right color. I think color is also an easy way to know. If you see, it's a nice light yellow, and yeah, I like steeping all my tea out for each brew because that really ensures that nothing is being over steeped, and it just has your teas ready to go for the multiple brewings. Okay, so let's try this. Let me pour out this. I'm just warming it up. Okay. Yes, very nice. I mean, I really think white tea is the most comforting tea in our tea collection, which is why I chose it. It is chose it for today. It is just like the flavors are soft and sweet and delicate and very subtle and gentle. One thing I like about white peony white tea is there's this kind of note of cucumber that I really like. It tastes just the way that cucumber is fresh and clean and just very delicate and warm and inviting. So like I said, white tea is just very easygoing, very low maintenance, very comforting, and sort of the perfect tea for this time. White peony white tea is from Fuding, Fujian, and that is the terroir of origin for this type of tea. They started growing white peony white tea and other white teas in that region starting in the 18th century, and it remains today to be the epicenter of artisanal knowledge and tea heritage know-how on growing these types of tea. So that's where these teas are from. I've shared some photos with you of the tea fields of where this specific tea is from and where the tea farm and the family that we work with to get these tea leaves. So the main principle I really want you to think about when making white peony white tea, and really it applies to all teas, is giving your tea enough space to really open up and release its flavors. Temperature and steeping time are also relevant here, but it's not as crucial as green tea. You have a little more space to just relax. And I hope that you can relax with a cup of white peony white tea this week. Thanks for watching today. Next week we'll be brewing some Cheemin black tea. If you have any questions, feel free to leave comments or join us on one of our live Q&As. While we are spending more time at home, visit asiastore.org and get to know more about the artisans and browse collections online, including my teas. Be sure to tag Asia Store on social media with the hashtag #InThisTogether to show how much more we're connected than ever. Thanks, and see you again next week.